Erev Tov Mizgav. Good morning, Cleveland. Greetings to everybody who's watching us, whether you call today Hump Day, Yom Revi'i, Million Shekel Wednesday, or as we like to call it, Sababa Wednesday. Sababa Wednesday is the continuation of our webinar telethon that we started last Sunday. Naomi, we had a lot of fun doing that and heard from folks that we've been seeing in the chat all year and some new folks. So tell us where you're calling in from today. We love having people around. Was anybody with us on Sababa Sunday and on Sababa Wednesday? If you are, put it in the chat, let us know. And even if you weren't, we're so glad you're here with us today. We want to know from you, what do you want to see in 2022? We are going to do a review today of some of our highlights that we couldn't quite get in. Hello, Carmiel. Hello, Baltimore. We're glad to have everybody here with us today. But tell us a little bit over the course of this episode, what you might like to see in 2022. And we and our whole team here at AIFL are going to do our best to include that in our great programming. Naomi, tell us a little about Sababa Wednesday, what you want to get out of this. How are we going to do this in an hour now that we had 2 hours on Sunday?
I know, it'll feel so short compared to Sunday. Sunday was our first 2-hour webinar, and we barely scratched the surface of 2021. We packed in as much as we could from this year. We got so many wonderful comments in the chat and by email that we thought we should do a repeat. We're doing an hour today. We're going to pack in some more highlights from this year, some of our favorite webinars, some highlights from our gala, some more special guests, supporters of ours from around the country. And we thought we would just have a nice wrap up for this year, celebrating with all of you, all the wonderful places that we visited, and some of Wayne and my favorite highlights from this past year as well. So we thank all of you who joined us. We did raise a good amount of money on Sunday. We're looking to raise even more today if we can in half the time. Thank you for all of you who have already supported us. We really appreciate all of the contributions that have come in, whether it's $18 or $500 or more. Every pledge, every donation matters. You see the donate slide here. You can donate online or by mail or write to one of us to submit your pledge. The more that we can raise today, the better. You still do have 2 weeks till the end of the year, but we're really hoping that this will serve as your telethon fundraiser. And just like on Sunday, we do have a special prize for whoever donates the largest gift today. We are offering you either you can serve as a guest host for one of our upcoming webinars of your choice, or you can choose the topic of our next webinar in 2022. Anything from art to food to virtual tours, whatever you want. So it's up to you. So we, as Wayne said, we both like a little competition, and I saw a lot of you competing on Sunday for the largest gift, so please continue to do so today.
Marcia in Durham was with us on Sunday. Want to give a shout out for her double attendance with us on Sababa Week. And we have people calling in from Toronto, from Ottawa. We've had great Canadian presence actually throughout the year in all of our webinars, from the east to the west, and folks all over the world. So we're going to start off with one of my favorite segments, certainly from this year, which was a topic we took on in several different episodes that in one way or another dealt with PTSD. And Israel certainly has some of the most innovative approaches to dealing with a number of mental health issues. And there was one particular episode that for me almost became the metaphor for the year for me. So I want to start with that. It is a group of Army vets who created a program called SEASU. And if you didn't see the episode in its entirety, I want to highly encourage you to do so. We took a clip from it, and we're going to kick off now with that episode so you can begin to feel the calm of the Mediterranean, which is at the very basis of this program, SEASU. So let's go to that clip. And indeed, this is a way to begin the episode with a little bit of healing and a little bit of comfort from the Mediterranean.
Lost limbs, lost moments, and depleted spirits are faced and overcome on a sea that doesn't care where you come from or what you come with, only what you take away. We are SEASU, a therapeutic and transformative paddling program for veterans living in the wake of physical, emotional, and spiritual trauma, from acute physical injury to PTSD. Our mission is to establish a worldwide network of bases that transcend borders and ideology, to provide veterans with local membership in international competition, all under a banner of belonging, healing, and purpose. Our name is inspired by a Finnish concept, best understood as extraordinary courage, undying resilience, and a resolute purpose when adversity is unthinkable and success unlikely. Our craft is called a surf ski, built for 1 or 2 paddlers and designed to cut through water with efficiency and speed, from lakes to rivers to seas. Our team is comprised of a tight-knit unit of former soldiers, kayaking legends, healthcare professionals, and volunteers dedicated to building an inclusive and sustainable organization that serves our veterans with integrity and fidelity. In silence or conversation, we are understood, supported, connected. SEASU, where we belong.
Michael, take us to the essence of your brand. This one I know is very close to your heart.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Wayne. And I'd like to thank Cassia and Giovanni and all the rest of the good people at AIFL for your interest in our program and your promotion of it. We're very much pleased that we have this platform to share. As for the brand itself, it's something that spoke to me from the very get-go. The fact that I'm a native New Yorker, without a military background, coming to Israel 10 years ago, I'm a bit of the odd man out in the group of SEASU paddlers, but I have found a real home here and a very much the purpose and meaning and balance that so many of the other paddlers have attributed the program to. By chance or destiny, I had met Eyal, and he asked me early on to take a few photos of the paddlers, this paddling veterans group, and being the fly on the wall, seeing the guys get ready, going out in the water was inspirational, and even more so when I jumped in on my kayak and paddled out with them. It's extremely, as I said in the video, a tight-knit group of people. And we're out there all together, helping each other, seeing each other in silence or conversation to help, to have fun, the joy, the amount of camaraderie and also competition. It's funny that, with Shlomo being the leader, he's one of our oldest paddlers, but we're having always a tough time keeping up with him. It's very, making us work hard out there, and also, challenging us off the water as much as in the water. So I'm just, I'm gracious to be that Eyal asked me to be part of this and help found what SEASU is today, from its original inception to bringing it to a broader audience throughout Israel, and also we want to bring a broader audience throughout the world. We can speak more of that at the end, but I would, I'd like to hand it over to the next video, which will feature one of our paddlers as a testimonial, who's an incredible guy that after the first few paddles, we didn't know if he would come back or not. He was extremely seasick, but he came back and has become one of the strongest people out there, and also another inspiration to us all. So I'll get to the video, and then we can get to Eyal's story, as well as the more important ones of Shlomo and Iran, whose experience I think will really speak to the audience.
Thanks, Michael.
I came to SEASU just to find an interesting experience, an adventure. But what I found is balance. My mind is clear. I feel really good after I paddle. The sea is always different. I found good friends, good people. Thanks to SEASU.
Ayal, tell us a little bit more about what it's been like to meet individuals who are going through this journey, and what as one of the co-founders, you see the organization doing today.
My story, it's at the end of the day, it's all a very personal story, but it's a story that connects everyone together. I was born in Israel, but I grew up in South Africa. I returned to Israel when I was 18, not with any intention on serving in the military. I was a free diver and water polo player. And you know, the famous John Lennon sentence of what life happens when you're busy making other plans is pretty much my story, with obviously no regrets. So I found myself returning to Israel with very little Israeli identity, and in search of identity, I found myself being enrolled into the military service. I was offered a special sportsman's an option to be I was in the national water polo team. I decided to give that up and to go become a combat to serve in the in the combat region. After 3 years finishing my service, after you come out, and experiencing something that is not something that you can really explain, one of the strongest feelings, or what I found most, is what I was lacking is the comradeship. But a year later, after working in some security company, I started realizing that something wasn't completely right. I was having panic attacks, and I had no idea where it was coming from. I returned to Israel and obviously treated myself. But what was interesting is that because I, in my childhood, being in the ocean a lot, straight after my military, basically what I found is that I was spending almost every day by the sea. Only today did I understand what that sea was for me. So after, going through a process of treatment, I, at the age of 35, decided that, I'm going to introduce surf ski paddling into Israel. And at some stage, the military being my identity back into Israel, and obviously my heart lying in those areas with soldiers and, people that experience what I experienced and what others experienced in those places, I also realized that the craft itself basically puts everyone on a par. So whether someone is amputated or whether someone, has other PTSD issues, on the water, everyone's the same.
Wow, it's such a powerful webinar. For those of you who want to go back and watch the full webinar for the first time, or for for several times, we do post all of our webinars and programs on YouTube for free. They're all available on there. My colleagues will put in the chat how you can access that. I know some of you have asked where to find some of these full webinars that we've been showing clips of today and this past Sunday. So don't fear, you can watch any of them and all of them at your leisure later on. And I want to thank Anita Dansker, who was the first person to donate on today's webinar. Thank you, Anita. Thank you for all the people saying such positive things about our webinars from this past year. Marcia Saltz, who loves Sababa Sunday and came back for round 2 from Durham, Abby Merker from Denver, and everyone else who's joining us today. We also did get some donations between Sunday and today for this telethon week, so I want to acknowledge everyone who donated during this past week. And speaking of wonderful donors, I want to introduce our next guest, Leah Chase from South Carolina. You'll all love her accent in a few seconds when we show her on screen. She has been watching our webinars throughout the year. She started supporting us, and she hosted her first parlor meeting for her friends throughout the South, South Carolina, Georgia, and other states. We actually did a book club with her and Lori Kaufman's book, Rebel Daughter, and had several dozen great people. We're planning our next parlor meeting with her. So Leah wanted to give a special thanks and hello from South Carolina for all of you today.
Hello, I'm Leah Chase from Charleston, South Carolina. I have loved AIFL's twice weekly webinars. They've been a lifesaver, particularly during the COVID isolation. So I fully support AIFL and invite all of you to watch with me. The Wednesday and Sunday webinars are just great. Thanks.
Thank you, Leah. We look forward to working with you some more in 2022. And here's some more great webinar highlights. The next one that we will show you today is the Tower of David Museum in Jerusalem. It's a window into the past, present, and future of Jerusalem. We showed this webinar earlier this year. For me, it was fascinating, having lived in Jerusalem and been there, dozens of times. I had never actually been able to see this museum. It's a special museum sort of hidden under the towers in Jerusalem. For all of us who are yearning to get back to Israel and to Jerusalem, this is a way for us to experience this museum virtually, and hopefully we will be able to do so in person again soon. But in the meantime, please take a look at this really, really special, unique insider's view into this amazing museum.
With love of stories of the Citadel, people who have attended concerts, people who have attended the light shows, people who didn't even know there was a museum on the inside. And obviously, for the past year, nobody's been able to visit. Tell us, with all of this excitement and this stage of reopening now, why did you make the decision to take on a large-scale project to renew the museum in addition to just reopening it?
Of course, it's a magical site, the Tower of David, located in this ancient citadel. It's the only museum in the world that tells the full story of Jerusalem, 4,000 years of rich history, and as you said, together with events and night show and many other activities for visitors from all over the world. But after very successful 30 years and millions of visitors who visited the Tower of David, it's time for renewal. So why? First of all, as you can see, the site itself is an archaeological site, needs preservation because after so many years, the stones, the ancient towers, the ancient spaces needs some, conservation and preservation. Second, we had to renew the infrastructure. Also, we wanted to find new language to engage the young generation with the story of Jerusalem and renew the exhibition. So it became a very excited and large project. But as you know, before planning the future, we had to go back and learn and discover who put his foundation before us. And here, I want to introduce you to Dr. Amit Re'em, the regional archaeologist from the Israeli Antiquities Authority. They are our partners in this project. So let's hear Amit about the archaeology and history of the Citadel.
You are looking at a large-scale excavation that we are conducting right now after the decision to renovate the Tower of David Museum. And this is a rare opportunity, us, the archaeologists, to come and explore, I will say, even a symbol in Jerusalem. Where we are exactly? We are outside the current medieval walls of the Citadel. Few minutes, you can see behind me Jaffa Gate. June 1935, a great British archaeologist, his name is Cedric Norman Jones. Jerusalem is in the hands of the British. It's before the Israel state. Now he decided to open half of this ramp, the southern part, and explore and conduct archaeological excavation. And he does it. And he left a diary with photos in the archive of the Israeli Antiquity Authority. Jones, in his excavation on 1935, used classical archaeology. He searched for coins and ceramic, which enabled him to date all these systems of walls and fortifications to the time of the Crusader. But we are doing something else. You know, more than 15 years pass, maybe more than half a century. We are using carbon dating. Between the stones of the fortification, there is a cement and chalk and charcoal. We collect it very meticulously and systematically, and we analyze it together with the well-known Weizmann Institution in Rehovot. Doing so, we could date the stone, the mortar, and we could scrutinize even more precisely the dates of Jones. So in a way, you have here all the system of how archaeologists in Jerusalem think and operate and how are using my predecessor materials.
Elad, I know you have, thanks for the patience there. We got to see an important piece of the beginning of this, as you said. It seems to me that if you had just sort of like gotten rid of the bees and integrated the wonderful technology that we saw from Itai, it could have been Dayenu, but you kept going, and you've even moved, as I understand, beyond the confines of the walls of the Citadel itself. So tell us a little about the renovation and where should people expect to be able to go in the future?
Yes, so as I said, our mission is to tell the story of Jerusalem, very complicated story, 4,000 years, starting with 1,000 of Jewish history to temples, and later Christianity, and later Islam. Actually, the history of Jerusalem is the history of the world. So this is challenging. And we wanted to use the best technology of our time, together with original artifacts, models, illustration, maps. We need to transform this ancient citadel into a modern museum. So how do we do it? It's complicated because the preservation issues are heavy and complicated, but we can work together with the most, I think, update experts in Israel to solve these issues. And I want to take you behind the scenes of this project, and you will be able to see how actually, on one hand, we will keep the beauty of the ancient spaces. On the other hand, we will be able to launch an update museum next summer. Let's see it.
New entrance pavilion, designed by the award-winning architectural firm Kimmel Eshkolot, is a sunken two-story glass-enclosed building that blends seamlessly into the historic architecture of the Tower of David. It will include a new visitor center and ticketing office, and a contemporary exhibition gallery, the only contemporary gallery in the Old City area. Outdoors, there is a terraced cafe, facilities that are available for the general public, and for the first time, there will be a shady sitting area at the entrance to the old city. Leaving the entrance building, we can go into the main courtyard. We are upgrading the museum galleries and creating a new permanent exhibition, adapting the infrastructure for the 21st century. We are laying new cables and infrastructure for the interactive and digital exhibits that will be included in our new exhibition. The ancient guard rooms will be converted into galleries that will contain displays, exhibits, and the latest technology. 21st century technology, including fiber optic cables and advanced audiovisual equipment, are being installed without harming the ancient stones. The new exhibition will rely on traditional exhibits as well as on technologically advanced and interactive displays. Our team of architects, designers, and curators will be using immersive techniques to tell the story of Jerusalem, both chronologically and thematically. Objects and artifacts will also be part of the display, blending the old and the new. The exhibition also deals with themes that explore the unique heritage of the city and the reason it is so important to world civilization. The conservation of the Citadel itself is a major part of the renewal project. Expert conservationists examine every stone in the Citadel for damage and are using traditional mortars to repair any cracks. When completed, we will have new upgraded spaces for the museum. For the first time, the Citadel of Jerusalem will be accessible to all, with 2 glass elevators that provide access to almost every level of the historic site. One of the major undertakings of the project is the conservation of the Fatsail Tower, the only one of the magnificent towers built by King Herod that is still standing today. We are ensuring that this 2,000 years old tower will remain strong and powerful for future generations.
Wow, looking at that Tower of David episode, it just sort of, it goes straight to the heart. We've tackled Jerusalem from below, from above, from navigating it through the streets of today, and there's just been so much. Thanks for the shout out from Karen in the chat, who remarked that, you know, just looking at the various clips and segments over the past year, it's just such a reminder of really how much we've covered. And we feel we're at the, you know, we barely at the tip of this. We have so many more stories we want to tell. How do you even begin to approach Jerusalem and everything that's happening today? I can't wait to go to this new wing of the Citadel Museum and to walk the walls and to do all the fun things that you have to be there physically for. But in the meantime, we know there are people creating. We know there are people who are living through the mosaic of Jerusalem today. And we had an episode earlier in the year with a young arts group called Mekudeshet. They've been around several years now, and they have literally brought together musicians from different genres that are contemporary artists from the 4 different quarters in the old city of Jerusalem and other parts of Jerusalem, bringing together Armenians and Christians and Muslims and Jews in their day jobs and just as citizens of the amazing place that is Jerusalem today. And so now we're going to show you a clip from this group, Mekudeshet. We begin in the middle of a conversation I was having with an Armenian guy named Apo, who at the time was had an Arabic song that was like the #1 song in social media, I believe on TikTok at the time. And what an amazing story for future generations who are getting to know the history of Jerusalem, but also its relevance culturally today. Let's take a look. So Apo, today you literally are the poster boy for the artistic community in Jerusalem. I mean, this is a community where if you spit, you're likely to hit someone who's who's creating something. So it's better not to spit, but it is really fun to be in conversation with you as someone who's grown up and as an artist in Jerusalem. We have people who have already written in the chat describing how much they love Armenian folk dancing, and you're bringing together very different pieces of the four quarters. So is that like a normal thing? To like grow up with that kind of identity of all those different influences on a daily basis, and how is that how did that lead to Oppo and the Apostles?
Well, I would say it's not a normal thing. It's only limited to the 700 Armenians that live in the old city. For us, it's a normal thing. If you're an Armenian from the old city, born and bred in the Armenian quarter, you are very likely to speak Armenian as a mother tongue, English as a second tongue, and Hebrew and Arabic interchangeably. And with the languages, you're also familiar with the social cues and the narratives that come, be it the Israeli community or the Palestinian society. So you just learn these things by learning the language. And growing up dealing with these languages, I always wanted to explore it through music, because each of the languages comes with a different context, right? There are some cases, there are some contexts within my daily life that I'll know how to speak better in a certain language. So if I'm at the bank, I'm much better in Hebrew than I am in Arabic or in English or even in Armenian. If I'm at the grocery store, I'm much better in Arabic because I know all of the fruits and all the vegetables only in their Arabic name. I don't even know them in English, right? And but the way that I wanted to come out of those contexts was through music. So I just used these languages, and I wanted to practice these languages out of the context that I learned them in. So I went to music, and that's, Oppo and Apostles was just my attempt to learning Arabic, and it became a hit. That wasn't my intention. The intention was just to know how to have a better street grasp of the language. And it became what it became, and the rest is history, as they say. But if I wasn't an Armenian, I do not think, a lot of that comes by being an Armenian, by being, I'm not even going to say minority of a minority, because we are so minuscule on the charts that we don't really matter. We're the margins of the margins. And I guess only coming through that, could somebody actually grasp these languages and utilize them in the way as I have done. I'm not saying that the Armenians are special in this, but when it comes to the old city, I guess we are put in that special context to do that. And I did it, and it succeeded, thank God,
small but mighty, and creating beyond, punching above the belt here, in the sense that really these traditions that all of the communities are invoking, and the history and the geography and the voices of Jerusalem are so powerful. They continue to echo, and seeing future generations come together around those influences and those sounds and smells of the shuk or daily bustling life in Jerusalem really is inspiring to so many of us. Oppo, I want to come back to hear about some of your individual projects perhaps later, but you also play a role at Mekudeshet in terms of reaching out with other artists. And I'm curious if you could describe a little bit about that process. How does Mekudeshet interact with artists like you from different places in Jerusalem?
To be honest, there are a lot of organizations in Jerusalem that have good intentions, but they do not know how to actualize them, right? So their heart is in a good place, but for some reason, in the artistic world, there's this assumption that art, just forget about reality and just go to art, and people will forget. It doesn't work that way. Reality is too much of a force to ignore. And in Mekudeshet, or Jerusalem seasonal culture, I saw that there was this will and this determination to not ignore the elephant in the room. and that comes with honesty, or at least the attempt to be honest. And that is very important, and that really differentiated the organization from the rest of the organizations. And me coming from the Armenian quarter, which is also, I mean, I am bureaucratically an East Jerusalemite, because I still am a Gentile, a Goy, born and bred in East Jerusalem, and that, in the bureaucratic sense, is an East Jerusalemite. So I was closer to the Palestinians bureaucratically speaking. So I was also aware that if there's an organization in West Jerusalem that wants to make an outreach to East Jerusalem, then they have to be aware of the elephants in the room. Not just one elephant, there are 1,000, but you have to be aware of them. And there was this will in there, and there still is. And I just wanted to facilitate that, to make sure that, you know, we use the energy and the will, and to navigate it and focus it in the right way, in the right direction, to get the right results.
Well, that's like the perfect lead into the next video clip that I wanted to show. So let's take a look at that elephant in the room. This is a clip called "We Are Here," and I think it will speak for itself. Let's cue that up.
We. אנחנו, בניה ובנותיה של ירושלים. יוצאים מהבתים, צועדים ברחובות, עולים אל הכיכרות ומכריזים בזאת, אנחנו כאן. We are here to oppose evil, hatred and violence.
We are here to turn the light on.
نحن هنا لتحويل الجدران إلى جسور.
لتبديل الدمار بالإبداع. لتصليح ما قد تحطم.
אנחנו כאן, חמושים באהבת אדם וסבלנות אין קץ.
כדי להילחם על הבית שאנחנו כל כך אוהבים.
نحن هنا لأننا نؤمن بالخير
الذي في الإله, في الإنسان وفي الأرض.
We are here because the message will emanate from us to the surrounding hills, throughout this land,
and far beyond.
אנחנו כאן כי יותר מדי זמן שתקנו.
ועכשיו אנחנו זועקים את קולה של התקווה.
אנחנו
هنا.
We are here. We are here.
אנחנו כאן.
אנחנו כאן.
אנחנו כאן.
אנחנו כאן.
Beautiful. I know that after that webinar, a lot of friends of mine in Israel asked how they can follow Mekudeshet locally. And again, a lot of our friends in the US who are able to go to Israel, or those who hope to go soon, would love to get a glimpse into Mekudeshet when they're back in Israel, hopefully soon. I want to again thank those of you who are reaching out to us during this webinar. For anyone who wants a copy of this, just write webinar@aifl.org, and whoever wants previous webinar copies, please do the same. Thank you again for those of you who are donating and pledging during this hour. We very much appreciate your support. And I'd like to now turn it over to my colleague, Ruby Shamir, who you heard from on Sunday, on Sababa Sunday. She's in Israel, not too far from Mekudeshet, but about an hour away. And she will talk a little bit more about our 50th anniversary Partners for Democracy Awards Gala, which was exactly a month ago today, which is amazing how time has flown this year, at the Plaza Hotel here in New York. And she'll give a little insight into her 30 years with AIFL and what we experienced at the gala.
Thank you, Naomi. Thank you for the introduction. So we had our gala, as Naomi said, exactly on the day 4 weeks ago. And at the gala, and in person, at the gala, we honored both President Bush and President Rivlin, and Nasdaq and Tel Aviv Stock Exchange, and the sons of our initiator of the organization. I would like to share with you a video which will give you a glance at the festivity, the wonderful evening we just had 4 weeks ago. So I hope you will enjoy it the way I enjoyed the event at the plaza in person, meeting so many friends.
The AIFL's 50th anniversary gala celebration started on a strong note with the annual Israel Day at Nasdaq, celebrating the commercial ties between the United States and Israel. It continued with a ceremonial bell at Nasdaq and jumbotron projection of the Israeli and American flags in Times Square, followed by the Tel Aviv to New York and AIFL Israel at Nasdaq conference.
Nasdaq has really been, to a very great extent, Israel's second home.
The spectacular evening celebration began with a lively reception.
Good evening, New York. Boker Tov, Tel Aviv. Buenas noches.
Over the 50 years, we have been constantly evolved and adapted, but always remaining true to our mission, that of making friends for Israel.
The relationship between Israel and the United States is the most important relationship Israel has. It is founded on shared, true values.
The American-Israel Friendship League continues to foster important collaboration, important friendships between the two countries.
The AIFL Partners for Democracy Award was received in person by former President of the State of Israel, Reuven Rivlin, and former President of the United States, George W. Bush, who continued to a discussion with Ambassador Dan Gillerman.
I think it's really important for leadership to remind people about why the United States and Israel are so close, because we share values. You can worship freely, you can speak freely, free press, rule of law, things that are important for a peaceful society.
We must let the people understand that we have to live together.
The exceptional evening continued with the Kenneth J. Bialkin Leadership Award worthy recipients, the Tel Aviv Stock Exchange and Nasdaq. The Herbert Tenzer Lifetime Achievement Award recipients were two of AIFL's founders, Vice President Hubert Humphrey Jr. and Congressman Herbert Tenzer.
I know that Dad had a passion for that, and he would be deeply honored with this award.
This 50th anniversary will be just an interval until the diamond anniversary, which is 75.
Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave? B'yodam chofshi be'artzenu eretz Zion v'Yerushalayim. תודה רבה.
Boy, that brings a lot of nice memories from just a month ago, Naomi and Ruby, and for our whole team. I would say, Ruby, that the one silver lining perhaps of Zoom existence for the last couple of years has been we've been able to adopt the Israeli informal dress code for work and not have to wear a jacket and tie. But at least that night, celebrating the 50th birthday of AIFL, putting on a suit and tie and, putting on the glitz for not the Ritz, but at the Plaza was really a lot of fun. And I enjoyed that sliver. We've all recognized a little bit of a miracle that somebody was looking down to let us meet in person for that birthday celebration, even as we now recognize restrictions coming into Israel have been reimposed, and it ain't over yet. But it was great to see you there, and it was great to celebrate this great milestone together.
It was great to hug all our friends.
Absolutely. We do have a lot of friends, and we appreciate all the love that everybody's sharing in the chat. We appreciate the opportunity for you to share some of that appreciation with a gift. That's why we made this telethon. That's why we extended it over 2 days. It's Sababa Wednesday today. If you're able to, please dig deep and send us a little love through any of these means. As Naomi mentioned, you have till the end of the month to make a gift in 2021. We hope you'll do that for all this great programming that we've been involved in. We have many partners that we work with. One of them is featured in this next segment, the American Association of School Administrators, who in regular times we have brought to Israel. And because we couldn't, we know that educators have really been at the very forefront of some of the challenges of adapting to remote learning over this past year. And we want to share you a segment of a program we did with them on one of the webinars, looking at how innovators, educator innovators have had to adapt both in Israel and in different parts of the United States. Let's show that segment now.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Wayne. And it really is a pleasure to be with all of you here today. We have a very distinguished panel, outstanding educators from both sides of the ocean. And it's going to be great listening to what they have to share with us today. We are all aware that this has been an incredibly difficult year for all of us. We can easily anticipate that in our lifetimes, we can't imagine that there will be an event of the historic proportions of what this past year has been. And it's been a struggle, but at the same time, the fact is that our educational leaders, and I particularly thank the four of you for the outstanding job that you have done. We find that educational leaders, not just in America, but throughout the world and Israel, have really stood up for the students that they have responsibility for in a very, very difficult time. And that's one of the things that we will be looking to have them share with you today. Both the great things that they have done that they feel really good about, and also the problems that were difficult to solve, and today maybe even still be unsolved. So there's a lot of information to be shared, and let's get to it right now. So let me ask each of you, and I'm going to start with Michelle, to tell us a little bit more about where you're from, so that our audience has a better understanding of where you work and where you've done the things that you're going to talk to us about. Michelle?
Thank you, Dan. It's a pleasure to be here, and thank all of you for joining us. I hate to say this morning because it could be this afternoon where you are. So today, I would like to share that again, North Shore School District is right outside Seattle in the northwest corner of the United States. We're a school district of 35 schools, about 24,000 students, 3,000 staff. And we speak 94 home languages in North Shore. We're a very diverse school district and a very proud school district who has 95% on-time graduation rates and has students going to post-secondary experiences, university, work, military, et cetera, all around the world. Very exciting district, and also I will say high expectations also come with high responsibilities on all of our part as well. And it's been a most interesting year. We'll talk a little later about that. My background personally is in chemical engineering, and I think I have to thank my science background for all I've learned this year and the way in which I've been able to make sense of what doesn't often make sense out there. So I think that's it, Dan, and I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you. And let me also mention that there are over 14,000 superintendents in America. And this year, Michelle is the National Superintendent of the Year. So congratulations, Michelle. We're proud of you.
Yeah, thanks,
Let me
Dan.
turn now to Dalit and ask the same question of you, Dalit.
Well, thank you, Dan, and thank you all for joining us this evening or this morning or this afternoon, wherever your clock is on. It's a great opportunity for me to be here and to talk about the things that we've been through this past year. My personal experience is that I've been a teacher, an educator in high school in Israel for 23 years. And only after that, I joined the Ministry of Education as the head of Department of External and International Relations in UNESCO. being an educator, I taught history and Middle East studies, which was, I think, the most important experience of my life. It made me understand the importance of educating and teaching, the connection and the experience with teenagers was one of the most wonderful experiences of my life. And I think this is what guides me on and on in my career. So thank you.
So speaking of other great partners, I'd like to now introduce a close friend of mine and one of AIFL's great longtime partners, Gabe Gershwitz. He is someone I've known for over 10 years here in New York City. He is the co-chair of our Young Professionals group and very, very active with other pro-Israel organizations, on top of being a full-time dad to new twin boys who were just born recently, and counsel at a law firm. He gives us a lot of his time and energy, and on our development committee as well, has been very active. He also attended our gala recently with his wife, and he's here to share with us some insights into what it's been like to be with us for over 10 years as a emerging leader, and why he supports AIFL.
Hello, Shalom. My name is Gabe. I'm a member of the Development Committee of the America-Israel Friendship League. AIFL is an organization that I've been involved with for over a decade, and I strongly encourage you to give today. AIFL touches countless people through its webinar series now, Missions to Israel, Youth Exchange Program, and so much more. Today is the day to give, and to give generously. AIFL is now 50 years old. Let's make sure that it can do even more in the next 50 years. Toda rabah.
Thanks, Gabe. I just want to give everyone a quick note that we will probably run over by a few minutes just because we have so much content we want to share today, but hopefully you could all stay a few minutes past 1 to be with us for the rest of this webinar. I now want to share another really special clip from another one of our partners. It's called Pfizer, not the Pfizer that we all know from our COVID vaccines, but the other Pfizer, FAISR, which stands for Friends of Access Israel. It's an organization that we met earlier this year through our colleague, Ben Lackman, who handles our social media out of Chicago, and you'll see him on this clip. This is a really incredible group of people who are differently abled from many of us, but wanted to reach new heights, wanted to continue their hiking and their climbing and their adventurous spirit by climbing some of the most difficult summits around the world that those of us who are able-bodied may be able to strive for one day, but they managed to do with very innovative technologies and great spirit and great camaraderie. So please enjoy this clip from them right now.
All right, thank you very much, Naomi. Hi, everybody. So I'll tell you just a little bit how it Paracheck all started. Actually, it started, the idea started from something that happened 47 years ago in 1973 during the Yom Kippur War, when my father was a young officer. He was 20 years old, and he fought in the Egyptian front. And after they crossed the Suez Canal, they stopped there and waiting for orders. And suddenly a missile hit his tank. He flew outside, landed on his face, and shattered 3 vertebrae. And since then, he's paralyzed from the chest down and wheelchair bound. 35 years after that incident, he sits back home and he gets an email from Tibet, where I stayed in Tibet. And I wrote to him, Abba, Dad, I just got to realize that you never had the chance to go for your after army trip like most Israelis. And what do you say? We go for this after army trip for you. And he wrote back to me, are you aware of the fact that it's 35 years since my service in the army? And I wrote, it's still after army trip. What do you say? And he said, all right, I'm in. And I said, okay, but it's going to be in Turkey for a whole month, 500 kilometers, which is pretty much around 350 miles. Sleeping in tents and sleeping bags and cook on bonfires and drink from whales. What do you say? And he said, I'm in. And I came back home from my trip in Tibet and we started planning. And then he said, well, but I have just one question. How are we actually going to walk? So I said, oh, that's no problem. I spoke to some of my friends and we're going to put a stretcher. You're going to lie down on a stretcher and we're going to go. And he said, he actually screamed, what do you think I am, a potato sack? And in that second, I realized that all his abilities, everything that he can do, and he's basically Superman, he just can't walk. And I took all of his abilities and I just threw them behind my back and I told him, you are a wheelchair, you are a potato sack. And in that second, I understood that I need to change something in the way I see him and I see people with disabilities. And we got together with an industrial designer and a mechanical engineer, and we created the first model of the Trekker, an all-terrain wheelchair. And we went out for 33 days with 34 friends in Turkey for a whole month. And what happened there was actually something that changed my life. I found my destiny. I would like to show you a short video, the One Family video, to see how it's been done. So we'll see that, and then I'm going to explain how we got together for our journey in Kilimanjaro.
Autaki kubembelezana mlima silele mama autaki kubembelezana mlima silele mama autaki kubembelezana wese yo sere naumia naumia wese yo sere naumia wese nitanganyie machungwa machenza na malimao wese nitanganyie machungwa machenza na malimao wese yo sere naumia naumia wese yo sere naumia naumia ayolela amba ayolela amba ayolela amba ayolela amba mola jaria kwa wapi yo safari yao amba ndefu amba amba.
Awesome. So we are wrapping up this 1 hour webinar. Wayne, how do you feel when you see all these highlights from this past year?
You know, we've gone from the heights of Kilimanjaro to the depths of the Dead Sea with Reuven on our trips to the Arava, which we highlighted on our Sababa Sunday. I mean, literally, and geographically, we've covered the highs and the lows. We've told stories, you know, Naomi, what I think I'm most proud of from this past year is that we've told the stories about Israel that we really want people to know, and without an agenda and without any kind of, need to apologize or explain in advance. These are Israel's stories. These are Israel's people. These are Israel's friends. And we've got so much more to go. Just at the end of December, this week, we'll meet an Israeli winemaker with a winery in California this Sunday with an American counterpart, women in wine. We call them Wonder Women because there aren't a lot of women winemakers. At the end of the month, on the 26th, we've got a concert from some of the best music makers in the world from the Israeli Philharmonic as part of the Bookman Meta Music School at Tel Aviv University, an incredible partnership between a university, Tel Aviv, and an Israeli Philharmonic Orchestra. We have got just tremendous things to share with all of our friends around the world, and what an incredible format to do it together. Naomi, this has been really an exciting journey this year, and we've got more coming in 2022. Really looking forward to sharing more of these stories with old friends and new friends. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, little did I know when I joined this organization 2 years ago what my day-to-day job would turn into, from thinking that I would be traveling around the country raising money to hosting webinars, doing Pilates and all sorts of new exercises on camera for thousands of viewers, trying to learn how to cook through our cooking webinars, not so successfully, but trying, and really connecting with so many different people that I personally didn't know before virtually. It's been so gratifying to me to hear from people who haven't even been to Israel before, but are curious to learn more about Israel beyond the conflict, beyond what they see in the headlines, seeing the beautiful art, the museums, the culture, the food, the fashion, everything you could think of under the sun that Israel has to offer from such a tiny country, miles and miles away. So for me, since I normally go to Israel pretty often, this has been a wonderful way to connect not only with Israel, but so many of our friends really around the United States and around the world. Thank you all for continuing to stay with us throughout the past year plus, and hopefully continuing to stay with us through 2022 as well.
Yeah, we'll flash, just as we're heading out, the donate sign one last time for the Telethon week and Sababa Wednesday today. We're grateful for everyone for being with us and helping us build this virtual community. We have such great insights from the instant feedback we get from all of you, and from your requests on seeing full episodes of the past. As we mentioned, we offer all this stuff free through our YouTube channel, and continue to share this. The minute we're done, our friend Ben that you just saw in the last segment previously begins to share it on social media so that we reach even more audiences. And we do all this stuff for free. We don't have a subscription. We've done that on purpose. We want more people to know the real stories of Am Yisrael, of Eretz Yisrael, of Medinat Yisrael, all of the stories of Israel that even those of us that like me, that's my last trip. My last tiyul that I did before COVID in Israel, Upper Nahal Amud in the Galil. Boy, I long to get back there and do it again. And we will. We have another virtual tour episode with you with Reuven. Each of these things are delights to share with you. So come back if you can. Share a few shekels with us along the way. Share our links with your friends and with others who maybe need to be introduced to us and to learn about how they can become involved with our community and become supporters as well. So we'll sign off now for Sababa Wednesday, but we'll be back on Sunday. Bring a glass, we'll say cheers for the new year, and we'll continue to drive with the great programming that we have in 2022.
Thanks, Wayne. It's been a lot of fun hosting these with you. And to everyone who's watching, thank you for your support. Happy end of 2021. Happy almost New Year. And thanks for being with us throughout the year, watching and joining us to celebrate Israel virtually. We continue to do so next year. Thank you all.